Good morning, class. Today is Tuesday, September 8th, and we are starting a new week of stories and a new week of vocabulary words. Our goal this week is to work on making mental images as we read. Last week we were working on making connections. So these two kind of go hand in hand. Mental images should be something you always do as you read. All that means is you're getting a picture or kind of playing a movie in your mind as you're listening to a story or as you're reading a story. So first, let's go over our vocabulary words that you will hear in our story, which is Saturday and tea cakes. So the first word is steep. Steep is having a sharp slant or a slope. So think of a steep hill or a steep mountain. It's a very sharp slant, not a gradual slant, but a very sharp slant. So we're going to look at a picture of what steep might look like. Okay, so as you can see, this mountain is going almost straight up and down. So that's what steep means. It's not a gradual slope. Okay. Second word is ripe. For something to be ripe, it means it is fully grown and ready to eat, like a ripe banana or a ripe apple. If it's fully grown and ready to eat, that means ripe. Dew. Little drops of water that collect at night on grass, plants, and other cool surfaces. So let's look at a photo of dew. So you could be getting a mental image of what that means. Now you should see this almost every morning if you walk outside, little droplets of water on the grass. So when you go outside and you wonder, why is the grass wet? It didn't rain last night. That is just dew. And we will learn more about how that's created during science later in the year. So there's dew. Next word, nibble. So nibble means to eat in small bites. So when I think of the word nibble, I think of a squirrel nibbling on a nut that he's found out in the grass. They just take small little bites. Okay, sift. To separate or remove by using a sieve. So let's look at what that would mean. Okay, so here is a sieve. They're sifting flour. Here's another example. So they're sifting the flour through this sieve, and it just makes it a little bit finer, a little bit thinner almost. Let's see if we can look at another example. Here's another type of sieve. You might see one like this. So sift is the process of separating or removing by using a sieve. Used a lot in cooking. So there they are. The flour is going in the bowl by sifting it. Okay, next word. Trudge. To walk slowly and heavily because you are tired. So let's look at an example of trudge. So if somebody says, I'm just trudging along, that means they look almost like their feet are heavy because they're walking so slow, not really walking at a normal pace. So picture this girl. She looks like she's just trudging along nice and slow. The feet are usually probably heavy from either maybe walking through snow like you see here, or they're wearing big heavy boots. It takes a lot of work. So maybe when you're walking through snow, you will trudge because it takes more work to walk through snow, and you'll walk slowly. Okay, next word, coast. To move without effort or energy. To move without effort or energy. Okay, humming and vibrating, low sound. So most of you probably already know what that means. If you're humming, then you're not really singing out loud. You're keeping your mouth closed and making noises with your mouth. Pavement, a hard surface for a driveway, sidewalk, or road. So let's see if we can find an image of pavement. Okay, so just pavement looks basically like a road or anything that looks like concrete, like a sidewalk or driveway. Okay. Next word is glider. A glider is a chair or seat that glides back and forth. So it's kind of like a rocking chair. But it may look a little bit different sometimes. So let's see if we can find a picture of a glider. Okay, so glider would look like pretty much like a rocking chair. So it can move back and forth. So glider is a chair that can move back and forth. Okay, so picture an old-timey chair or a rocking chair. They will discuss that in these stories. So now you can have a mental image of what they're talking about when that word comes up. Sputter, your next word. To make a series of popping or spitting noises. Sputter. So this is what pulls up when you type in the word sputter. But let's see if we can find, if we narrow it down to the noise. Sputter noise. So you see, they usually use that word to describe cars. Kind of chugging along, kind of a noisy car. They would say it sputters. Okay. Next word, ferns. Ferns is a family of plants with large green leaves shaped like feathers. And these are very popular in Texas because they're very hardy. They won't die very easily. So people like ferns here in Texas. They're actually very pretty too. So this is what a fern looks like. It's very leafy. You may see some that are hanging in a basket. They get pretty big. So long, leafy. Oop, here's another one. So see how long they can get. Okay, and that is your vocabulary for this week. So I will be posting this in Seesaw for you to study throughout the week because Friday we will have our test over these words. Now, let's talk about how we would put these in ABC order because that will be part of your assignment for today also. We talked about ABC order last week, and I'm going to go ahead and get you started on that again so you can remember how to do it correctly. So the first thing you want to do is think of your alphabet because that's what ABC order does. You use your alphabet to put it in alphabetical order. So we're going to look for words that start with an A first. And I don't see any that start with an A. So then we're going to go on to B. None start with B. I do see C. Let's make sure there's just one. So since there's just one C, word that begins with C, then we're going to put that first. Okay, next letter in the alphabet is D. So now we want to look for any words that start with D. There's do, and that's it. Since it's the only word that starts with a D, then it would come next. Okay, next would be E. I don't see any that start with an E, so we're going to go on to the next letter, which would be F. We look just at the start and find any words that start with F, and there's one. Since it's just one, we know that one has to be next. Next letter would be G. And there's only one of those, so we know that has to go next. Okay, now let's say we're going to skip along, and I'm going to let you do those next words after G next on your own. So let's go to one. Let's just say we have two words that start with the same letter. What do you do then? Because I see several that start with S. There's 1, 2, 3. 3 that start with S. So in that case, you have to go on to the next letter. So it would be a T, an I, and a P. Those are the letters that you would compare next. Since they're all different, we need to see which one comes first in the alphabet. Does T come before I and P? No. So then we would go on to the next one. I. Does I come before T and P in the alphabet? Yes, it does. So Sept would be your first S word. Okay. So now we just have steep and sputter left. So we, again, look at the T and the P and decide which one comes first, the P or the T. If you're thinking P, then you're correct. So then you could put that one would be second when you get to the S, and then steep would be the last of the S words. Okay? So that is how you're going to complete your ABC order using your vocabulary words today, and I've already done 4 of them for you. So use that alphabet. You can be writing those letters down to help you. You will also be doing ABC order with your spelling words too, so it's going to be good practice for you this week. Okay? The next thing is we're going to go ahead and listen to our story. Now this story is a memoir. You may be wondering, what is a memoir? So let's look. A memoir is a special memory about people, places, or objects. It is from the author's life, but is not to be mistaken as an autobiography. A memoir is focused on a smaller chunk of time, whereas an autobiography tells the story of the author's whole life. So think of a memoir as just a special memory. It's a non-fiction book that's telling facts about somebody's life, but it just focuses in on one specific time in their life. A special memory that they want to share in a book. Okay? Now your goal, like we said before, is to make mental images. So I'm not going to show you the pictures, but what I want you to do is to be thinking of mental images as you listen. Because your assignment today, you're going to be taking your mental images and putting them on some coffee cups. Let's see if I can find that for you. That look like this. So I want you to be thinking of words that have triggered a mental image in your mind. And then you're going to be drawing a picture of that. So I'm going to go ahead and read this story and think of those words that are giving you a memory, and you can go ahead and jot those down as you're listening. Okay, Saturday's and Tea Cakes. Story by Lester M. Lamanick. When I was 9 or 10 years old, I couldn't wait for Saturdays. Every Saturday I got up early, dressed, and rolled my bicycle out of the garage. Every Saturday I coasted down our long, steep drive, slowing only enough to make the turn onto Thompson Street, then leapt onto Bell's Mill Road. Pedal, 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 past Mrs. Caulfield's house. Pedal, 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 around the horse pasture and up the hill past the cemetery where my grandfather was buried. Pedal, 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 past Mrs. Grace Owen's house and on up to Chandler's Phillips 66. Every Saturday I coasted over the black hose by the gas pumps just to make the bell ring. Then I dropped my kickstand and checked the air in my tires. I stopped at Chandler's for another reason too. That's where I crossed the highway that ran right through the center of our town. My mother always said, "You stop and you look both ways when you get to Chandler's. I don't care if the light is green. I'll hear about it if you don't." And I knew she would too. In our little town, everyone knew everybody and told everything to anyone who would listen. So I always looked both ways. I hope you're getting some mental images now. Be thinking of the town. Pedal, pedal, pedal across Ross Street, then left for a slow coast down behind the Bank of Heflin, where I turned right onto Bedwell and whoosh! I zoomed downhill as fast as I dared. Pedal, pedal, pedal! Up the next hill and left onto Almond Street. It was a long stretch to Mr. White's. I always stopped there to catch my breath in the shade of the old oak tree. One more small hill, pedal, 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 and then a right onto Gaither Street. Now I could see my grandmother's drive. 1, 2, 3, 4 driveways and one last turn to the left. This was where my tires gave up their humming on pavement and began the crunching of gravel. Just before reaching Mama's back porch, I slammed on my brakes, sending a shower of tiny pebbles into her flowers. Every Saturday, Mama was there, sitting on her old metal glider. Crick, crack, sipping a cup of red diamond coffee and waiting. She was waiting for me. No one else, just me. Every Saturday, Mama called out, come on into this house. Let us have a bite to eat." In Mama's big kitchen, sunlight poured through the windows like a waterfall and spilled over the countertops, pulling up on the checkerboard floor. Every Saturday, she had hot biscuits, sweet butter, and golden eagle syrup waiting on the kitchen table. Every Saturday, she poured a little coffee in my cup and filled the rest with milk and 2 spoonfuls of sugar. Then, before long, Mama said, "We best clear these dishes away and get at that yard before it gets too hot." I followed her out to the back porch. "Let me put a little water on these ferns," she said. You go on ahead to the car house." That's what Mama called the garage. "I'll be out directly." By the time I pulled the old lawnmower from the garage, Mama was ready in the garden, picking plump, ripe tomatoes for our lunch. Every Saturday, I pulled the starter rope again and again while the mower sputtered and spit. Finally, that old mower started, and I struggled to push it through the dew-wet grass, leaving row after row of fresh stripes on the lawn. From time to time, the mower choked on mouthfuls of wet grass that clung to the blades into my bare legs. But by early afternoon, the dew pearls were gone. The grass was mowed and dry, and I was soaked with sweat. Every Saturday, I pushed the mower back into the garage, trudged to the back porch, and flopped onto that old glider. Crick, crack, crick, crack. Mama soon appeared with a tall glass of sweet iced tea. "You just cool off and rest a spell. I'm going to make us a bite to eat." Before long, she came back with 2 big tomato sandwiches on hamburger buns. Every Saturday, I gobbled mine down like a hungry dog, but she nibbled at hers like a bird. "Now, them's some good tomatoes," she said. "I know you like a good tomato sandwich. Don't they taste a whole heap better when you've just picked 'em?" We sat there We sat there a while listening to the calls of blue jays and the rhythm of that old glider. Then Mama looked at me sort of sideways and said, "I reckon I know a boy who'd like something sweet to eat." And I grinned. "Yes, ma'am, I reckon you do." "Come on, then," Mama said, heading toward the door. "Let's get in this kitchen and see if we can't make us a mess." Every Saturday she spread a cloth over the red countertop and scattered a fistful of flour across it, sending a cloud into the air. Then she set out a big bowl. Mama dipped a china teacup into the canister of flour, scooped out a cupful, and skimmed over the top with her finger. Then she dumped the flour into the bowl and added sugar from her black cookie jar. She let the mixture drift through her hands like I sifted sand at the beach. When it felt right, Mama said, "Look in the Frigidaire," that's what she called her refrigerator, "and find me 2 sticks of bluebonnet." I pulled open the refrigerator and got out the margarine. I unwrapped the sticks and dropped them into the bowl. I mixed and mashed, until the ingredients disappeared into a paste. It was smooth and pale yellow and smelled like fresh cotton candy at the county fair. Mama pinched off a little to taste. "I expect we need a bit more sugar in this." She sprinkled sugar until the dough tasted just the way she thought it ought to. "Now get me 3 eggs," she said. I tapped the first egg too hard, making it splatter onto the counter and down the outside of the bowl. "I reckon we can call that half an egg," Mama said. "Here, let me show you how to do it. Just tap 'em easy like this and pull the shell apart over the bowl, like this. Now you do the next one." It was hard work blending those eggs into the mix with a long wooden spoon. Mama pinched another taste. "My goodness, Buddy, we didn't put no vanilla in here. Reach up in that cabinet and get me down the bottle of vanilla flavor." When the dough tasted just right, Mama rolled it out on the flour-dusted cloth. Then I cut out the tea cakes with the rim of an old tin can. We carefully lifted the circles onto a cookie sheet and put them in the oven to bake, 375 degrees for 15 minutes. Those 15 minutes seemed to last forever. "Are they ready, Mama?" "Not yet, Buddy." "Are they ready now, Mama?" "Not yet, Buddy. Let's give 'em a little bit longer." "Are they ready yet, Mama?" "I reckon they might be." She opened the oven door, and the kitchen filled with a smell sweeter than summer gardenias, the smell of tea cakes. Every Saturday I reached for one still steaming on the baking sheet. "You better wait, Buddy. They're going to be mighty hot just yet." We waited until the tea cakes were cool enough to lift from the baking sheet. Then we set them off on a plate. Every Saturday I ate one, and then another, and I looked at Mama. "Is that all you want, Buddy?" "You be sure to eat all you want. We made them tea cakes just for you." When I had eaten all I could, she set a few off on a saucer for herself and put the rest on a big sheet of aluminum foil. She folded the edges into a little handle at the top. "Now you put these out there in your bicycle basket so you won't forget 'em." Every Saturday, as I pedaled over the gravel again and out Mama's drive, I glanced back over my shoulder. Every Saturday, Mama was there sitting on her old metal glider and waving. She was waving to me. No one else, just me. "Don't worry, Mama, I won't ever forget." Okay, that's the end of your story. So as you're doing your assignment today, be thinking of some of those words in the story. And if you need to listen to it again to remember some of those words, you can do that. And then draw your picture to represent what you're seeing when you heard those words. Okay, so that's working on mental images. You also will have to do some questions in your notebook. So I will post these in Seesaw, but I want you to be thinking of these as you listen to the story again. Why do you think the author repeats the phrase pedal, pedal, pedal a few times? So what do you think he's doing there? Why is he having to say that word over and over again? Now, if you remember, The little boy probably wasn't riding his bike a short distance. So think about that as you're recording your answer. The next question that you're going to be writing in your notebook, what kind of town did the author grow up in? Is it like your town? Explain the similarities and differences. So think about how he described his town in the beginning of the book, and you're going to be writing in your journal what his town is like, and if it's the same as your town or similar as your town. And then the last question, can you hear the sounds that Mr. Lamanick describes in your head? Gravel, metal glider, bell ringing, etc. How does this enhance your reading experience? So when he's describing those sounds like the glider going crick, crack, how does that help you during your reading? Does it make it more vivid? Can you hear the sounds in your head? Are you able to visualize it better because you're hearing those sounds as you're reading the words in the book? Okay, so those are your 3 questions that you're going to be entering in your journals today. Now this all will be posted in Seesaw with clearer directions, but this will get you going. I hope you guys have a good day, and please reach out if you have any questions about this story or about making mental images or any of the vocabulary words we discussed today.